What is going on, my friends? We're back with another edition of Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast out here on YouTube. I'm riding in the car today with two of my closest buddies. We got Anthony Ricciardi, head of opinions, the man, the myth, the legend, fresh off work. This guy got off work 5 minutes ago. He's on the show. How are you doing today, my friend?
Doing all right. Every time I think I'm not on the show, I'm on the show.
He's on the show. He's back again, and then again, I'm once again. And I said again like 3 times in a row. I'll get you a better intro next time, Soul. I promise. I've been working on this, but I'm with my crazy Scottish buddy, Soul, riding for 4 days in a row. Let's keep the streak alive. How have you been? I know you got some Soul Sessions news stuff maybe today, but how you been?
Well, everyone wants to know the 40th guest. Who is the 40th guest?
Ooh, we got number 40.
Well, we still got episode 37, 38, and 39 to come out first. Come on, fellas. I know you all want to know the big scoop, but, patience is key. Patience is
a virtue.
Exactly.
No doubt. But otherwise, everything chill today, Soul?
No, absolutely. Fine as always. We're here to talk about Raw. Yay. Can it be AW, please?
Huge day of topics, and most of them are Raw. Ironically, me and Anthony last night, I'm going to tell a little personal story here, not to throw anyone under the bus, but we were co-watching the show last night with a man we call super producer, Cody Galanzowski. Great guy, mostly the Zoom host on our watch parties. Boy, did he have a group project last night, and did that shut us off for the last hour. So if we nail the first two and don't quite get to that third, I want you guys to know it's not our fault. You blame the big Canadian upstairs. He's not here today. He's in class. Hopefully that group project worked out because, man, did those guys not like wrestling.
Yeah, of course. I like to imagine Cody walks into class, right?
Yeah.
Somebody walks into class, it's like, Cody, why have you not done your project? Well, 2 mates of mine wanted to watch 30 minutes of guys wrestling in their tights. So yeah, that's why I'm not passing this grade. I'm gonna flunk the year because of two guys.
The opposite. It was the opposite. We had me and Anthony out here watching the rest of Raw with Kobe, and he was like, "Hey, I got to do this group project. Do you mind if I join the Zoom?" Next thing you know, we got people using the F word, and that's not the FU word. I'm talking about the FA word about wrestling, professional wrestling. People that don't watch, you guys can take a hike.
Oh, God,
it's predetermined at worst. These are some of the best, toughest athletes in the world. But on that note, we will get into especially the parts of Raw that we saw with our own two eyes. And so let's start with Cody and Sami. Let's start out the gates with the best segment of the night because it was. And so I'm going to go first here and toss it to you two next. But realistically, we watched, like I said before, not quite all three. I did catch the last 30 minutes with summaries and kind of fast forwarding. But of the Raw that we caught, stole the show, understatement. In my eyes, are you kidding me? The guts it took to put Sami Zayn, your top SmackDown babyface in theory, not that that's the full case now, but and Cody, your top Raw babyface, given the way that they're spider webs of storyline cross going into not only the Chamber this weekend, but Mania following that, and Roman Reigns in the Bloodline as well. I thought Paul Heyman delivered two of the best promo segments I've seen on WWE TV in years, the last 2 weeks, with each man on the opposite side. First on Raw with Cody, second on SmackDown with Sami. This one I thought topped those two, and that isn't something that I thought was possible because I thought this was a more difficult subject. And so for me, to keep all of this alive was so brilliant. And I want to get you guys' thoughts. There's so many directions they can go, but how'd you guys feel about the segment? Let's start with you, Soul. How did you feel about that segment last night? I know you at least saw the clip. I know you saw that promo.
I did.
We joke about not watching Raw, but you didn't miss that one. How did you feel about it?
No, of course not. Don't worry. No, nobody get their panties in a twist. I did watch the segment. The resident AEW fanboy actually watched a part of Raw. Okay,
absolutely.
But look, right, let me start with the negatives, right? Because I have negatives. Why is Roman not involved in all of this, right? This is the guy Sami's facing on Saturday for, the prestigious title in WWE. Because the last thing we've seen is Sami coming out the crowd, doing the spear to Roman and all that, Roman backing away, and then Sami saying, I'm going to take it all you and do it in Montreal. And then it's been Heyman and Cody, and nothing of Roman. Where's Roman been? This is the guy he's going to face in Montreal. Why are we not getting promo battles between them? Like maybe Roman saying, trying to tear up the family again and all that, and we brought you in like a whimpered dog and healed you back up and you stabbed us in the back. Why are we not getting stuff with Roman and Sami? This is what you need to build a match. I know some people go like, well, this match is already built perfectly, but if someone was just going to tune in just now, they would be like, it's a guy calling out the championship match of a champion who's not even there. He's not even there to fire back at him and defend himself. Why is he not there? Now, let's get on to the good stuff. This was great. Yes, it was great. Cody and Sami doing the promo against each other, I feel like was a good way to have the audience, simmer down and realize, yeah, we can't, Sami may not win on Saturday, but it's kind of like Cody's giving his blessing that, yeah, I want you to go and finish your story, and I will face you at Mania if you do win. I will be happy with that. Is Sami going to win on Saturday? But I mean, I've said multiple times, like this, the Bloodline storyline would have a very good effective end if Sami wins. The underdog guy who's brought in as a joke comes in and takes down the beast, killed from the inside. But with Cody, it's sort of like the boy who dreamed doing what his dad ordered. So there's stuff out of this. It's just, are the fans going to pull a 2014 and turn on everything because they don't get what they want? Because wrestling fans are fickle. Fickle. I mean, hey.
I really like what you're saying here, Soul. Like, I love your take there. And before we're going to stay on this subject, I think longer than I had planned, by the way, because you said a couple things that I really do want to get into. I'm going to give Anthony his time right here on this take, as far as how do you feel about just the promo last night? But then let's get into a couple of things that Soul brought up after that. And I don't want to distract both of you guys, but I really do want to get into the idea of 2014 with all three of us and hear all of our opinions on that. And I also want to get into the other thing that you mentioned was Roman Reigns' availability and how that affects this storyline going forward, because who knows his availability the weeks heading into Mania. But before we do that, your opinion, Anthony, on last night's segment, in particular with Cody and Sami. But I would love to stay on this as long as you two are cool with that.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Absolutely. All right, Anthony, it's your time, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, the promo last night was further evidence of just how good both Cody and Sami are. I completely agree with you, Clark. Paul Heyman had two phenomenal segments last week, and I don't really recall somebody having that awesome of promos back-to-back shows with two entirely different talents. One of the things I had said to you while we were watching, before we were kind of forced out of the watch along last night, before we were kind of shown the door, or we found the door,
took the door,
was yes, stage left, was Sami reminded me a lot of Mick Foley last night, just from the way he delivered the promo. There were little motions that he kind of made with his face with the beard, and it reminded me of Foley
playing with the beard.
There was the passion there. I love the fact that Sami is like, he's confident, but he's realistic of going, I may not win this. And Cody's confidence of going, dude, everyone in the room believes you have a chance of winning this except you. Like, we believe in you. I believe in you. Finish your story. I'm finishing mine at Mania. I thought it was a gutsy, like you said, it was a gutsy move because I guess they're a little afraid, I know people are speculating with 2014. I know we'll get into that. But, I thought it was a great move. And it leads back to a conversation. I know Clark and I know we've had this both on and off air. The bloodline and just anything involved with it, it doesn't matter how long you've been watching wrestling. You think you know where they're going with it, and they're not. And that is, if there's one thing WWE is hitting correctly, it's the involvement of the Cody and the bloodline story, it's a great story. The Cody going for the title. I mean, they're in an envious position because literally they could have went with Cody against Roman at Mania. They could have went with Sami against Roman at Mania for the title. And either guy would work as a believable person beating Roman Reigns. But chances are there's only going to be one, but there might be other options, and we can talk about that when we get to further on. But I thought this segment absolutely delivered. And it's going to go down as one of those ones at the end of the year you go, oh, was that the segment or the promo of the year? That'll be in the running probably.
100%. I really like what you're saying there too, and I'm super glad we're sticking with this topic.
Yes.
So I'm really glad you brought up both points too, because I think the three of us can really touch on this one in a way that is really, well-rounded, because we all have unique opinions on this one. So I'm going to start with Anthony. I'm going to toss it right back to you and then give it to Soul, who brought the subject initially. But I believe actually both Roman Reigns' unavailability or lack of availability for I think grammatical police out there, lack of unavailability, I'm not exactly sure is a word, but maybe it is, and if it is, we'll
let it go.
We'll let it go. But his lack of availability and the idea of the 2014 thing are linked. I personally, I'm just going to get this out really quick. I don't believe that the 2014 scenario was the same. You had a lot more heels involved than baby faces, especially traditional baby faces. And we've discussed Batista's role in that whole thing often. And I think that makes it so much different that it's not exactly the same. Where I see some parallels is a little bit Kofi Mania. That's the one that scares me. And I don't even want to add another layer to this, but that's that type of a thing where the crowd does pick Sami over Cody for some reason. If the way things play out in Montreal, the way things play out post Montreal, that would be my only fear. Do I think it's likely? No. What I think the answer is, and I'm going to put this on both you guys, so I don't want to change your takes because I know you're both ready, but I think the answer is triple threat. I think the answer is triple threat. Almost without question. I think it's Sami, Cody, and Roman. And that's what I would say. I'm going to toss it to Anthony first, and then Soul, we'll get your opinion because right after that. So, Anthony, you go right ahead.
I think the main reason we're not seeing Roman, I mean, technically it's probably contractual why we don't see him, because he works limited dates. But just in general, I don't necessarily think he needed to I don't think he really needs to be there. I mean, he's the dominant champion. Sami's chasing him. He's not chasing Sami. He had his chance to finish Sami off, and he just gave him that warning of going, I'm doing it in front of your family. I'm not going after you until then. So I think that works in regards to the 2014 thing, and I hate to be a broken record with this. But the backstory with the 2014 thing is months leading up to it, Brian Danielson now in AEW was kind of screwed out of the title multiple times. And the crowd got behind him. In the case of the winner of the Rumble that year, it was Batista, who, according to Batista, Vince wanted him back as a face. He didn't want to be a face. The crowd didn't want him as a face, but he still won the Rumble. They wanted Brian in there. In this situation, Sami hasn't been screwed yet out of the title. The crowd still loves Cody. He's selling out merch. He's still getting "You Deserve It" chants weeks after the Rumble, which I don't really recall anybody getting "You Deserve It" chants weeks after the Rumble, at least nothing off the top of my head.
Not often.
So especially this long. I mean, it's been weeks. It's a little surprising that he's still getting them, but So I think that's fine. I think Cody will be fine. I think Sami will be fine. As far as the triple threat, I distinctly remember saying to you last night, Clark, I said, would they be crazy enough to do a triple threat? Like, are they going to possibly change the title? Would Sami somehow pull the upset and they're forced into doing a triple threat, or will they do it because of the finish of the match? One of the things that I had suggested, and Clark, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you like this idea. I know there's the topic of splitting the titles. One of the suggestions that I've had, if you're going to do a triple threat, do it as a 2 falls triple threat. They've done it once before at WrestleMania 16. Kurt Angle was both the European and Intercontinental champions at the time. He was in a triple threat with Chris Benoit and Chris Jericho. The first fall was for one of the titles, and the second fall was for the other. In that situation, Kurt didn't take either pinfall but lost both belts.
Mm-hmm.
So in theory, if they wanted to, they could split the titles. Cody takes the WWE because really that's the one that matters to him. Sami would take the Universal, which kind of would be even better for Sami because that's really the title Roman held the longest. In fairness,
right.
I think it's like double the time. I think it's like 800, like almost 900 days versus like 400 and something days. And if they wanted to, Roman doesn't have to take the pin. Roman could literally come back, whether SummerSlam or whatever, and go, I was never defeated for that time. If they wanted to go that route, they could.
This is a fun idea. I really like the thought process there, Anthony.
Yeah, I mean, Jay could screw him. I mean, there's a number of different things they could do with this, but the fact is, we have no idea where they're going, but everything they've hit so far has been a home run with this. So I'm very much looking forward to see where they're going with this.
I'm totally with you on that. And so let's and there's so much there to cover. We might stay on this subject for the next 15 minutes, guys. So bear with us here, but I'm tossing this to Soul too. You brought it up. What are your thoughts between the ideas of, I mean, we've thrown a lot out here. We got triple threat. We've got Roman not appearing. If you want to go backwards too and talk about how your thoughts, you want to expound upon Roman not appearing, feel free, whatever you're feeling. But I want to get your thoughts as well, Soul, because you brought up 2 awesome subjects on this topic too. And I think me and Anthony were both excited when you did. But yeah, absolutely. So let's get your thoughts as a whole. So
no worries. I mean, like, I feel like we're going to talk about this subject so much. Our voices are going to sound like the bosses yesterday. Get well, boss.
Seriously.
But I mean, I actually really like Anthony's idea a lot. I feel like that would be the more suitable one. But what I actually have, if I could get us all back on the same picture, because I actually have a question to you guys. So if we could get the freeway.
Oh yeah, we're back.
Okay.
Sorry. I had to duck out a screen for 1 second, but we're back.
No worries. So the question I have to you guys is, we're all going to Mania.
Yes, sir.
What kind of match would you like to see? Roman versus Sami, Roman versus Cody, or this triple threat? As viewing there in person, what match would you guys prefer to see in person? I mean, Clark, what do you think?
Okay, so I'll start with me. My personal opinion on this one is I'm kind of in the middle on everything. I love the idea of a triple threat. I really love the idea that Anthony just presented. My only fear with that one is, for the Mania moment, which one do you have win first? Because are they going to celebrate in the ring together? Probably not. They're not a tag team. They're not right? So if Cody is pinned by Sami for the Universal title, and then the next one is the WWE title, and Cody pins Sami, who celebrates to end the show? Both? I don't necessarily know. That's the only flawed logic I see in the whole argument, and that's not a knock, because when I first heard it, just a mere 90 seconds ago from Anthony, the little kid Clark inside of me was popping like I'm pretty sure I played out this scenario with my action figures back in the day. I was like, oh my gosh, this is genius. I didn't think of that scenario. And especially given the historical example with the European title and Intercontinental, I was like, that's brilliant. The final night, second night of Mania celebration is my only fear there. I would prefer a triple threat to a singles match, because I have no fear of the full 2014 thing happening. I have a slight fear of the crowd fully picking sides. And I think even a split crowd in Los Angeles will be hot enough that in a triple threat type scenario, we'll know who they're truly behind. I don't necessarily think they'd book it in a way where they head to the ring unsure. But boy, would that be a cool test. If they call that finishing the ring somehow, it's either going to be Sami or Cody. That would be if you wanted to really, really, really make me excited, that'd be cool. Now, we would never know that anyway. If they can play it out in a way that looked like that, would be amazing. Cody, Sami, in-ring talent-wise, can make this match a 5-star match in the main event of Mania.
Mm-hmm.
Opposite Roman Reigns in a single, I think it's still possible, and that's not to knock Roman Reigns' talent. But I believe that the three of them can put on the better bell-to-bell performance in the ultimate spot. And that's why I would, if it's my choice, triple threat is my choice. But Soul, how do you feel about that one then? And then we'll toss it back to Anthony for his thoughts too.
So me personally thinking, you're going to be in person. You want to feel the moment. You want to be really invested in the story, in the match. And I got no problem with any of the guys' in-ring capabilities. They can do it. They can do what they can do, right? So, but I think for me, to feel the moment, that good feel moment, to see the crowd basically be on their feet every goddamn second to get that conclusion they want, I think Sami and Roman would be the better match to see in person in a Mania atmosphere. Just because it's got the story, it's got the hype around it. People want to see the conclusion to this being Sami. I think with Cody, it's kind of like, I know the whole Paul Heyman promos, everyone's been like, that's billet. But when you compare it to the length of Sami, undeniable. You can't go back and be like, oh yeah, he's on par with that kind of build. So me personally, we're all going to be there. But personally, for me, I would rather see Sami and Roman in the main event of Mania.
I totally hear where you're coming from, and I'm even more excited because I know that Anthony doesn't have the same answer. Because I know about Anthony's affinity for
Look at that cheeky grin. He's like,
so I'm tossing it straight to Anthony for this one. And we know your answer. And not to give it away, but why Cody Rhodes, Anthony?
No, I bet he's going to say Brock Lesnar.
No. I've already wrote about this.
He did, elegantly.
For personal reasons, I really relate to the Cody story. Trying to do something, a connection with his father, something that his father wasn't able to do. I think that's a really compelling story. They've never faced each other one-on-one. In the case of Sami, he's facing Roman for the first at Elimination Chamber, so it's not a first-time matchup at all. They could do the triple threat. They could even have Roman defend one title one night, one the next. I don't think they're going that route, but they could. I would think I could, if they did do the 2-fall match. The question that you had, Clark, the celebration, stuff like that. Quite frankly, I could see them doing both. To be perfectly honest with you, I could see KO coming down and hugging both of them. They're all tied to Dusty. They're all tied together, and they're real close. So I could totally see that. That would. I think it would work either way. But I would think. To
your point, the amount of Dusty ties, I forgot about that. How everyone is tied to Dusty. So that
everyone in the company.
It's very It's very not cyclical. It's very it's a completed circle as far as if you are going to go triple threat, it still works, and it's still boyhood dreamish. To your point about the Cody thing, and I know, right, and you mentioned it, it is boyhood dream Shawn Michaels 96 vibes on almost another level, and that's the only reason I would, because I'm torn. I'm so behind Sami. It's my favorite storyline I've seen in WWE in maybe a decade, to be honest. Sami Zayn's rise as a whole, not necessarily the Bloodline story as a whole, and that's not to say the Bloodline story as a whole isn't great. It's the rise of Sami Zayn that it has made it great, that has elevated from a really high quality story to a can't miss story. In my eyes, personally, I don't know if they anticipated that. And I think that's part of the reason the 2014 thing continues to come up. The triple threat idea continues to come up. To that same point, I think the importance of this match on, is it Saturday or Sunday? I should know this as the host of the show. Saturday. Thank you so much, Soul. This Saturday, the way that match between him and Roman is booked is going to be so important to the follow-up, right? How that match goes is going to show us we know the crowd will be behind Sami. We will not, or behind Sami.
It's his
Sami.
hometown. Yeah.
Behind Sami. We will not be shocked by that.
No. Well, something I want to say, if that's all right, about this.
Go right ahead.
For his theme, I know he has this current theme that's it's been crap, honestly. And he has that old Ole Ole theme that he used during his whole NXT and that was recently changed. Do you think he'll go back to that, guys?
He actually said in an interview, he was asking, and he said he didn't want to go back, but he could see him if he was going to do it for one night, it could be in Montreal. Like I think he made hints of that. I think he implied he wanted a new theme entirely, but it sounded like he was willing to go back to the old theme. And one thing that I wanted to point out is I don't really recall anybody having a complete 180 in career-wise. You think about last year at WrestleMania. Sami Zayn is hyping up a match with Johnny Knoxville in a comedy match. And now we're having a conversation of going, should he be in a triple threat for the world title? Like, just think about just the complete change that 1 year made.
It's kind of insane, honestly, to think
Absolutely. The growth is off the charts. And I think it's interesting, too, with the theme thing. If there's a scenario where, in boxing and in mixed martial arts, they always call the first entrant the B side, and then the second entrant the A side. And it's not necessarily always the champion. So, for example, promotionally speaking, especially in boxing, in MMA, generally the champion enters second, no matter what, right? In wrestling, we often see the champion enter second almost always. In boxing, it's really the one that's like the bigger name. I think it'd be very cool if maybe they give a reason, maybe they don't, but to have Roman enter first. And if you're going to play Sami's old theme for one time, as you had mentioned, Anthony, he said he'd be willing. That's the time to play it. That crowd will go absolutely ballistic. The roof will implode, not literally, but figuratively speaking. And that to set the tone for the match alone, I think is worthy. So if it's me with the, as Bully Ray likes to say, with the pencil, I would pencil in Sami's old theme, as best I could. Maybe even a head fake where you play the new one
and cut it off
and cut it somehow. Yeah. And that
like
if I'm at the helm,
like the record scratch,
right?
That's really,
yes, with like a record scratch, and then like the because they already play that kind of part. But then if you hit that right, if you hit that one, that's where you'll see Montreal. And Montreal, I mean, I'm a huge hockey fan. You watch the Canadiens, the Habs, Les Habitants. That's as cool of a crowd as there is in sports. It's as loud of a building as there is in sports, and it's a wrestling town as well. So you're talking about that same type of fandom. You're talking about that same type of pop. I can't wait to see the Elimination Chamber electricity. That's where I get a little bit worried. Not necessarily about the 2014 thing happening along the way. I'm more worried about at Mania, because it's going to be a more corporate crowd. It's going to be a more eclectic crowd from different regions, from different places.
Smart from all over the place.
Right. And corporate as well. So that's where you get I don't know all of these people, but then they pick the guy, and that type of crowd sometimes gets behind who the smart portion of the crowd is already behind. That's my only fear. Has Cody Rhodes played it perfectly? I would say absolutely yes. I'm in agreement with you on that, Anthony. He's played it as what he did last night and it's funny because the tagline for this episode is, did Cody Rhodes convince Sami Zayn? The answer is, we haven't even asked that question yet. No. So the three of us, we're going to do that right now. And why even get into the rest of Raw? Because this is the big talking point. This is the part that mattered. And so we will get into it if we have time, but this is the part that mattered. And for me, Cody Rhodes coming out, talking to Sami Zayn and having to convince him, I don't think there is a true answer. Sami Zayn didn't necessarily need to be convinced. Not everybody knows right before they're about to do something great. That's an old trope. That's an old cliche. And I think it was great the way it was utilized in a promo sense last night. But I'm not sure every player for the Chiefs that won the Super Bowl on Sunday was dead convinced that they necessarily deserved it or that they were capable of playing their best in the championship game. That's something that, athletically speaking, every athlete has to deal with. Can I do this? Am I good enough? Do I believe in myself? And that was what I thought the brilliance of the segment was. Not whether or not Cody convinced him. It was presenting that feeling that, of course, Sami Zayn would have to have. He's the underdog. Of course, he's unsure. And Cody did an amazing job, in my eyes, of navigating those waters. That's where it was the most difficult part of the promo, because you can't make it look like Cody knows more than Sami on this. Sami presented, I'm not sure, I don't know. And then Cody pumped him up. And I thought that was the brilliance of that whole segment. I don't think Sami's got to give us a true answer. I believe I can yet. Now, would that get a pop if he tells the crowd, I do believe I can? Of course it would. Come on, right? We all heard that promo last night. Had he said that, I thought him bending over the railing, looking down, being unsure, win or lose, it told me nothing. What it told me is that this story has been so well told and so well thought out that they were still able to navigate something so difficult with the two biggest baby faces in the company right now. And I wanted to get you guys' thoughts on the answer to that question. Do you think that Cody, number one, do you think that Sami answered the question, or do you think it even needed to be asked or was more nuanced, like I kind of just presented just now? Whichever one of you wants to go first. I didn't have a plan on this one. So Soul, you want to go? And then Anthony, you were just second. I'm sorry, man. This is a race.
Yeah.
You're up next. You're on deck.
All right.
Let's go, Soul.
I'll just take all the time till 45 minutes. I'm the star of the show.
Don't you dare. I will camera cut you. I now know where the mute button is.
Well, you cheeky bastard. I'll say this. I don't think Sami should let us know if he's answered the question or not. I think that this should be a personal question that he should keep within himself and leave us in suspense. If Sami just comes out and says, yes, I know I can beat him, or no, I can't beat him, then the audience is going to have a set feeling. But if he says that I know the answer and only I should know it, that kind of adds a mysterious thing to it. It's like, oh, can he do it or he can't? Has he decided in himself that he can get the win, or has he decided in himself that he can only try and he's going to lose? So I feel like that would be a better thing for it, have him questioning himself and keeping that personal goal for him in here that he knows. But I'm going to say but again, but I feel like it's interesting because I kind of draw similarities with Sami to Hangman Page with the whole anxiety storyline of what happened in AEW. Not to the extent of Hangman's situation, but I feel like we're getting kind of elements of that with an anxiety portion around it. I'll say this. I love the Hangman Kenny Omega storyline. It's probably one of my favorite storylines of all of wrestling, for me personally. But yeah, I do think that this Bloodline storyline is quite good. Don't get me wrong. I mean, hey, I've only started watching wrestling from 2019. So anything before that, don't know. Never watched it. Wasn't there. Sorry, fellas. But yeah, no, I think Elimination Chamber is going to be a deciding factor for the future of the WWE. I mean, heck, even look at Punk's reign, 434 days of champion, lost at Royal Rumble. It just shows that these titles don't have to specifically lose at Mania.
Makes great sense too. I'm totally with you. And yeah, no, I love a bunch of the points you made there along the way too. And Anthony, we'll get your thoughts as well on this one. How are you feeling about it?
I mean, the one thing I wanted to point out is, and I know we're talking about the crowds, and the WrestleMania might be a rougher crowd and concern. They were in Brooklyn last night. New York's one of the toughest crowds to be in front of, and they were behind both guys. I think that may have even been a test last night, going, okay, let's test this in front of a hardcore crowd and see whether or not they turn on Cody or see how. So I think things went well there for them because the crowd was behind both of them. I don't think Sami really needed to answer the question. The open-endedness of it, I think, adds to it, if anything. I mean, Sami's moniker when he was in NXT, was the underdog from the underground. I mean, he's in an underdog position. So the crowd's immediately going to find a connection to it. I mean, hell, you look at the movie Rocky. I mean, I'll go Philly roots. It spawned how many sequels? And it was about an underdog, somebody that you don't expect to win. And quite frankly, you look at Rocky 1, he didn't win that fight. He didn't win the first one.
It was a draw.
So
he
what you're
just
saying
survived.
He
just survived, and that's a great call. I did not think of it that way, and this isn't an Elimination Chamber match.
Correct.
No DQ. And the idea of Sami just surviving is very much in play, Anthony. That's not something I considered, and from a booking standpoint, boy, would I not have a problem with that. But we were going to go Raw all the way, guys. I think we gave you what mattered from Raw all the way.
Yeah.
You just got a few minutes left. Whoa, you got one more?
The thing that mattered on Raw was possibly Otis joining Maximum Male Models. Come on, that is
Otis.
No, I care about it. I care about Ortiz. And
you're in the minority.
Otis deserves it. Otis deserves it.
Otis and even Chad Gable as, Gable.
I see him and Gable's workout videos on Instagram. The guy's been working on his body. He's in the gym. I'm telling you, if there's a male model that's been overlooked, it's Otis. I'm kidding.
I'm just saying now, the male models with Otis and Gable. It's going to be
exactly.
Funny. Okay,
it'd be funny. I don't know about money, but funny, no doubt. At least it'd be funny in some way. But I'll say this. We're going to move along to our last topic of the day, which isn't Raw anymore. We're just going to ditch the rest of Raw. I apologize to Raw. It was fine, Raw. But as I said, we missed most of the last half hour. And I'm going to blame our other producer. So I did it early in the show. Memorable. 2 blames. Sorry, Cody. All love, my friend. You're the man. But yeah, it's your fault. And so we're going to move along to, and this is my favorite topic of the day, actually suggested by our friend Soul. And before I give the topic, I mean, look, we've got comments. Great show, guys. That's my mom.
Hey.
And then take it to the table. Good win for he means Kansas City Chiefs. But let's go. Sorry, Kobe.
Yeah, Kaiser Chiefs.
Sorry, Kobe and Anthony. More importantly, Anthony. Kobe's dad's the real Eagles fan. But I do apologize. Patty got it done again. But our final topic of the day, this is a fun one. If you guys enjoyed the movie skits at Mania last year, we've each got, for the show, we came up with an idea each for a potential movie skit this year at Mania based on superstars and some of our favorite movies. And so we just thought it'd be fun to kind of end the show today with kind of like it's not like a throwback. It's like a throwback, throw forward segment, maybe Super Bowl themed still since it just ended.
It's not Tuesday. We don't do throwbacks.
Exactly. It's a toss forward Tuesday. We're gonna make a
toss back Tuesday.
Back and forward though, because we're gonna use throwback movies and then we're gonna project the WWE superstars doing them later. I really did not plan this riff, guys, so I appreciate you guys carrying me through it too.
We try.
But yeah, at the end of the day, we're each gonna make our little pick. I'm gonna start with Soul this time. And then go to Anthony, and then I'll give you guys my little projection. Actually, you know what? I'll give you guys my projection first. I'm going to go with Sami Zayn, who we just talked about, in my personal favorite movie, and that's not the Netflix remake. John Hamm, monster shout out. Chevy Chase, original Fletch, 1985. Sami Zayn, he's been wearing the hoodie in the disguises in a Fletch scene, I think would tickle me as much as any of them could. I would laugh my face off. I'm a huge Fletch fan too. So that would be my pick. Erwin R. Fletcher, Sami Zayn as Erwin R. Fletcher. I don't even know who plays the rest of the cast, but I do think that would be a hilarious clip. We'll toss it to Soul next, and then Anthony, you'll give us our pick.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, obviously, Mania 23, when they were doing Hollywood again, we had all these funny ones, Braveheart, Pulp Fiction, When Harry Met Sally, and all those cool ones. I actually got 2, I think first one as well from my boy Drew McIntyre and Sheamus, do Trainspotting, a good old classic film here in Scotland, do them running along the Edinburgh Princess Street. That'd be a cool one there. But another one I thought would be absolutely hilarious, Dom and Rhea in 50 Shades of Grey.
Oh,
come on. Imagine, like, I don't know, I've not seen the film. I'm not a degenerate. You know, the guy could be Rhea.
Do you flip the roles?
Yes, of course you flip the roles. You're not going to have Dominic
You flip the
Mysterio
male-female roles.
dominatrix guy. You're going to
we're
have
talking.
Rhea be that role. Rhea's
Yes,
going to be
sir.
that. Have the whole blindfold on Dom. He's going to be like, "Mommy, what's wrong?" And just Rhea's going to pull out a big cracking whip, and it's like, that boy ain't living till sunrise.
Okay. I absolutely love that. It was a hysterical pick. And then, okay, Anthony, what do you got for us?
Well, first off, I would like to say that the resident cardiologist had a nice pick there.
The cardiologist, I like that.
I would put Sami Zayn and KO as the Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg characters from The Other Guys. I mean, when you think about it, the whole movie, Will Ferrell has no idea what's going on. I think even one of the scenes he's discussing about how he helped girls in college, and Mark Wahlberg goes, "So you were their pimp?" No. They were with guys, and I was just collecting the money. He's like, "You're a pimp." That reminds me a lot of Sami and KO going, "They're using you." And no, like and then Will Ferrell doing the desk pop with the gun.
Oh,
I could see Sami doing that, and I think it would just be really funny. So that's where I would go with that.
Well,
you've given me an idea for more.
Go ahead,
One. Another one. What about Step Brothers and the drum set skit and have that be KO and Sami?
Oh, I was going to say
do that too.
I wish, and it's in hindsight or whatever, but if you could get Step Brothers, Riddle and Orton would be golden.
I think Riddle's a little.
Well, I think they're both off the. But I mean, from just a year ago, while we're riffing here, I thought like that would be they would be perfect for Step Brothers, or even trying to think. There's so many funny pairings. It's almost like like Ricochet and Braun would be a funny Step Brothers.
Braun would be the
best. It'd be a very funny Step Brothers scene.
Could you picture Braun in one of those beds, like just
with the bunk beds? But no, what you have to do is like they don't think about it, and you have Ricochet in the bottom bunk, and Braun trying to get on the top bunk would be the funniest.
I would almost have Braun on the bottom, and Ricochet does one of his flips on top to get to the top bunk.
I mean, like just straight slapstick wise, though, the idea of Ricochet calls bottom bunk, and then Braun has to climb up to the top one, and that's what breaks the bed.
Right, I've got one final one. I've got one final one before we wrap up here.
Let's go. Yeah.
Edge, Beth Phoenix, and Damian Priest in Van Helsing, the 2009 Hugh Jackman film.
That is not a bad call, at least, especially because you can do the makeup really easily with all the characters. Oh no, you could draw some parallels.
Van Helsing, Beth Phoenix would be the girl character in it, and Dracula would be Damian Priest, or Finn Balor who's going to face at Mania. That would be perfect.
Either or, I do not mind that. You could almost have Cross, even though it wouldn't make as much sense as far as like current storyline type stuff. You could almost have Cross play the vampire. That'd be interesting, right? I feel like look wise, he would fit that one pretty well. You got any other calls, Anthony? One more. We got 1 minute.
Yeah. I don't know. It's not in my head. I mean, the Step Brothers thing, you could even do that with Gargano and Dexter Lumis, technically.
That's not a bad call either. You'd have to have Lumis talk, though. That's the only fear there. That would be the only problem, is you got to have Lumis speak too much, I think. But I do.
You know, if they were still together, Indy Hartwell and Dexter Lumis in Titanic, and it's Dexter Lumis drawing Indy, and he's just like blanket stare.
Yes.
That
That is not bad in the least. All right, guys. Well, we've only got 30 seconds left at the most, and so we're going to send this one home. It's been an absolute blast. Do you have one more Soul Sessions thing for us, Soul, that you wanted to add in, or are you good?
Yeah, I'll just say tomorrow we've got Emily Hayden, Scottish wrestler, is going to be appearing for the 37th episode of the Soul Sessions tomorrow. 2 more. There's going to be another release later in the week, which I will announce on the Instagram at the Soul Sessions Official. Then next week will be 1 episode as well, and then on the 25th of February, 1 year anniversary of the show, is the 40th guest who I've been building up hype for. More announcements are going to come maybe at the start of next week. You know, I've given you too much. You know, he wrestled for Pro Wrestling Noah, and he was a former Ring of Honor television champion. That's all for now until next week.
That's it. No more hints. Anthony, you got any articles coming out anytime soon you want to plug, or you
I
chilling?
have some. I have one in mind, but I haven't written it yet. So.
Okay, good. Well, this dude's always working, so we'll probably plug that one on tomorrow's show. He'll have like 2 out by tomorrow. So I know Anthony too well on this one. That's why I was like, you never know. He could have written 4 in the next 4 hours, and I'd be like, okay, and read them.
I'll take
But yeah, other than that, check out everything else on the channel. Take it to the table. Monster shout out to them. Chaos and everybody, check out all our stuff. Like, subscribe. Clark Taylor, this is my first time hosting and producing. I think I got through it. If the audience wants to comment on that, please do. I did my best, but I appreciate So and Anthony riding with me, and this is a blast of a show. Yeah, we went 2 minutes over, but guess what? I decided to. So it was fun as could be, and we will see you guys tomorrow, not at the exact same time, but similar time, and we will let you know when that is happening. See you then, and it's been a blast.